Hi everybody, Dan Ullman, Matt Bernier. The feature race on a big packed card at Churchill Downs on Saturday evening is race number 8, the Grade 1 Stephen Foster Handicap. Let's take a look at this field at 1 mile and an eighth. And the story of the race really, Matt's the number 3 Gun Runner, who is the 4-5 morning line favorite and one of the best older horses in the country.
It's one of the best horses in the world if you look at it overall. He loses nothing in defeat to Arrogate most recently in the Dubai World Cup. You go back to his other start this year in the Razorback, he absolutely buried that field. The Clark Handicap last year was a good effort. You don't need us to tell you that he is just strictly the horse to beat, and he is far and away the most likely winner of this race. I won't be surprised if he puts on an absolute show, but this game's about gambling, and it's trying to get some value and trying to make some money, and I don't know how much money there's to be made picking him.
There's no doubt he's the horse to beat. We don't need to tell the folks that this horse was talented since day one, a little bit green in some of his races, but as he's matured for trainer Steve Asmussen, he's really put it all together. I mean, Byers have won 11 in the Clark, 110 in the Razorback, and the Dubai World Cup. He ran a super race. He just happened to run into a superstar.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You don't want to hold that against him. Arrogate, at this point, his length's better than anyone else right now, but I just think this horse, again, it's going to be fascinating to see what we get from him first start back, because there's no guarantee that they're going to come back from that trip over to Dubai the same as when they went over there, but my goodness, he is just so much the horse to beat in this spot. It's just, boy, I mean, he's 4-5 on the line. I think he's going to be shorter than that. I think he's probably in that 2-5 range, and I want to take a little shot against him.
But he's certainly an A in any sort of
he might be an only A.
And he would probably be my only A. Of course, you're not allowed to race with Lasix in Dubai. Here's the formulator fact for Gun Runners trainer Steve Asmussen. There's the pace projector. Let's talk about the pace projector first, and then we'll throw up the formulator fact. Gun Runner, as you see, can be forward in his races. He's sitting second in the pace projector, just off the speedy Birdsong. I wouldn't be surprised if the pace is a little bit faster, because our friends at Timeform US have the 8 Stanford in third, and that horse really likes to be forward.
Here is sort of the way that you can make a case against Gun Runner. Gun Runner, in each of his past 3 starts, he has had the easiest of leads.
Fair enough.
He's been out there, and that's usually when you're going to produce your best effort. I don't see him making the lead here. Birdsong has one way to go. I think Stanford has one way to go. I don't think Stanford can win at 9 furlongs from off the pace. I think Johnny V's got to be aggressive and send him out of there. So I don't particularly agree with it, that I think Gun Runner is going to be close, but I don't know if he's as effective sitting just off the pace. The other thing just to throw out there, there's about a 20 or 30% chance of thunderstorm Saturday.
That's a big storyline.
This horse has not run well at all on wet tracks. I suppose the only wet track that he had run well on was a drying out surface in the Kentucky Derby last year. If all of a sudden it comes up a slop fest, this horse, I think, is very vulnerable.
Although, again, if it stays as a fast track and the 1 and the 8 decide to go, I'm sure Florent Geroux would be very, very happy sitting by himself in third with a couple of nice targets perhaps in front of him. Now let's throw up that Asmussen formulator fact. Lasix on, past 5 years older horses, 33%, a 296 ROI. Birdsong successfully stretched out to win the Ali Sheba over a sloppy track. He certainly would not mind any sort of moisture on the Churchill Downs Strip on Saturday night. Mile and an eighth for me is a big question mark.
You can have him at the distance. I want no part of him. I figure he's going to be the pacemaker in here. I'd be stunned if he's not on the front end. He was on the best part of the track all throughout. He was on the inside. He made the front. It was a soft pace. Even with that 1 fraction that Timeform US has coded red, I don't want him at all.
Keelan Graduate breaking lucky, 8-1 Luis Contreras aboard. This is a horse that occasionally pops a big race, and I think he didn't like a wet track last time out in the Ali Sheba when behind Birdsong, behind a couple of others. The New Orleans Handicap 2 starts back. He ran fast from start to finish, but was still run down by Honorable Duty, and he was a little bit green with his lead changes. I think he's okay, but if you notice, lots of seconds on his record.
A lot of seconds. That's the big knock. That Ali Sheba, if you hold that against him, you're not doing it right, because he got pinched badly at the beginning. He got shuffled all the way back, and then he was racing widest on a day when you wanted to be inside and you wanted to be forwardly placed. He was neither of those. Draw a line through that. The New Orleans Handicap, I agree with you. Down the lane, the lead change thing, I didn't particularly love that. But guess what? He put away the other speed that was there with him, and Honorable Duty came from out of it and ran the best race of his life to run him down only by a neck. There's a scenario where I think you get those 3 horses we just talked about in the pace projector that are up there and they're going an honest clip. And Breaking Lucky is sitting right there. He may not be good enough. Maybe it's just another second-place finish. He can get a big piece of this.
Mo Tom won the Ohio Derby at this distance last year, coming off a second-place finish in an optional claimer. Not the strongest race in the world, although the fourth-place finisher did return to win with a 94 Beyer speed figure. He's been beaten by several of these horses in the past. Just seems a little bit slow on paper.
Just doesn't seem like he's taking a step forward as a 4-year-old. He's going to need to move forward in a big, big way just to hit the board.
Hawakam's a cool old-timer. He's 7 years old. He ran a big race in the Louisiana Stakes 3 starts back. Tried Gun Runner, though, in the Razorback Handicap and just could not overcome that horse's tactical advantage. He needs pace.
He ran a winning race in the Razorback. You know, unfortunately for him, Gun Runner happened to be in there. He does need pace. I think he's going to get an honest setup. I won't be surprised if he hits the board.
They went after Stanford early and often in the Charlestown Classic last time out, and I have a feeling he really didn't like that sloppy track either. I'll draw a line through that race, and then you're left with 3 consecutive triple-digit Beyer speed figures. But I'm not sure he's fast enough to outfoot Birdsong. I still wonder about him at 1 1/8.
I agree 100%. I don't think he's fast enough to make the front. I think he's going to be forward, though. I think they're going to send him. Again, that's the only way I think he can win. And at the distance, I don't think he's at his best at 1 1/8.
Gun Runner, Way the horse to beat. He'd be an only A on, as this race does kick off a pick 4. But I would use 1C, and I will take a small shot against him at the odds. Let's take a look at the horses that we're going to take small stabs with against Gun Runner as we take a look at our picks. You're going to go with Breaking Lucky.
You know, I think you've got excuses, and maybe it just looks like he's a bit of an in-and-outer right now. I know on his best day he can run with these. Keep in mind, in New Orleans, he was out there. He put away the other pace horses. The Pegasus, draw a line through it. Some horses just hate Gulfstream, and guess what? Arrowgate's not in this race. Then you have the Clark, and I know he was beaten well by Gun Runner. Keep in mind, Gun Runner walked on the front end in that race, so he had all the best. This horse did not. The Lucas over a wet track, he's another one that if the rains come, I'm concerned. Don't get me wrong. But the Woodward, I mean, he's a neck away from winning that race against Shaman Ghost, Frosted, and some other big ones. So I just think this is a really interesting one that, again, maybe he settles for a minor award, but he'll be my small shot against acknowledging Gun Runner. Strictly the horse to beat.
And before we get to my pick, we have to talk about Honorable Duty, because a lot of folks might believe that he's the second most likely winner in this race based on his win over Breaking Lucky in the New Orleans Handicap, and then a good second in the Ali Sheba last time out. I mean, Brendan Walsh has done a really fine job with this horse.
Yeah, no, I have no knocks against this horse. He could get a very good setup in here if you believe the 105 2-back. He is a main contender in here. The Ali Sheba, I don't want to hold that against him, but I will say he was on the inside for the majority, and that's where he wanted to be that day. Maybe against it, trying to come from off the pace, but I won't be surprised at all if he wins.
My small stab is with the number 7, Texas Chrome. He's really a hard trier, and 1 1/8 is really what he wants. He won the Super Derby and Oklahoma Derby at this distance last year, and he was just bastardized in his last 2 races by More Spirit and Dancing Candy, 2 horses that just went right to the front, and Texas Chrome couldn't reel him in. I don't think that Texas Chrome was down towards the inside last time out over that wet track in the Lone Star Park Handicap. I think that was not the place to be that afternoon. He did pop his best career Beyer speed figure, and I've just gotten the feeling that the connections have taken it one step at a time, perhaps with this race as the ultimate goal. If there's a pace up front, he can sit in mid-pack. He's a hard trier, and maybe if he doesn't win it, he could run second to Gun Runner, maybe make the exacta playable.
It's good to see that at least he's gotten back to his good form, because the Oaklawn race was a disaster.
Yeah, off the bench.
You know, maybe he needed one, and the Breeders' Cup, frankly, wasn't very good either. But before that, you had a rock-solid 3-year-old that continued to take steps forward. I don't know that he can win, but I think he can hit the board.
2, 3, 4, and 6 for Matt, 7, 3 for me in the Grade 1 Stephen Foster Handicap. Gun Runner, Way the horse to beat. Approximate post time, 9:43 Eastern. Good luck.